Hello my pretties, the witch is back. This week I have decided to attempt once again in my lifetime to make a Yule Log cake. This French Victorian cake is rolled up with like a thick frosting into a little swirl so that it looks like a Yule log. You know, the pagan kind of Yule log that you would throw things onto in the hearth of your home. And I will be honest with you, in the past I have tried to make this, I think 2, maybe even 3 times, and every time my cake has broken. So this year I'm determined, and I'm determined not only to do it, but to make it easier on myself. So I'm cheating. I'm going to be doing something inspired by a Yule log cake, but with puff pastry. It's ready-made, it's easy to use, and you can find a lot of them vegan that aren't specifically made for people who are vegan. My grocery store was totally out of the frozen puff pastry, but when I went over to the refrigerated section where they keep all of the like cans of cinnamon rolls, they had refrigerated puff pastry and it just so happened to be vegan friendly. I did very minimal research going into this attempt. I lightly Googled puff pastry rolls. I found one recipe that was a whole roll that used puff pastry. I think it had a Nutella-based filling. I decided to do something a little bit different, but seeing that someone else could do it, I felt like I could figure it out. I don't know why. I also found another dish that seemed to be very similar. It was Dutch bonket. And some recipes also used puff pastry. So it popped up and I felt like we are on our way. So I started by rolling up my puff pastry and then melting some vegan butter. I split my puff pastry in half because I wanted to make 2 slightly different variations, and also I was worried about it being too dense. You don't have to do this if you want to attempt to make a large one. Best of luck. Into a bowl, I added a 1/4 cup of white sugar, and then I also added in an eyeball's worth of brown sugar to give it some depth, and I also added in cinnamon. In witchcraft, cinnamon is great for protection, abundance, prosperity, love, luck, and there's something about cinnamon and the holidays, it just kind of fits the vibe. After making my cinnamon sugar mixture, I lightly brushed some of the vegan butter onto my puff pastry, just onto one side, and then I pressed my cinnamon sugar into it, trying to rub it out to all of the edges. After spreading out my cinnamon sugar mixture, I started to carefully roll up my little log into a swirl, and then I set it on a lightly greased, or it could be parchment lined baking sheet. For the second one, I did the same, lightly buttering cinnamon sugar mixture, but I decided to also add some walnuts to this one. Walnuts are great for protection as well as wisdom and strength and awareness, and also it just sounded like it would taste good. It would have been a lot easier if I had put those walnuts into a Ziploc bag and then crushed them with a rolling pin, but I decided not to waste a Ziploc bag and just tried to crush them on my cutting board. A few of them went a little haywire, but for the most part it didn't turn out to be a total disaster. So then I sprinkled my walnuts on top of my cinnamon sugar mixture and rolled up the second Yule log. I put these in an oven that was preheated to 425 because that's what the packaging told me. I think if I were to do this again, I would cook them at a lower temperature for longer because I think they got too cooked on top too quickly. When I do this again, I'm going to cook it probably at like 400. Mine took maybe 15 minutes, but I think if I cooked it at 400 instead of 425, I would leave them in for like 15 to 20 minutes. They should be a nice golden brown. I was worried that mine were getting too done, so I went ahead and took mine out. And they didn't look terrible, but powdered sugar is really going to come in here and save the day. I dusted it with some powdered sugar to make a little snow effect, and I also decided to add some fresh sprigs of rosemary onto my plate to add to the Yule log effect. So I did it. In a weird way, I finally accomplished making a Yule log cake. Is it a cake? No, it's kind of more like a croissant. Like a really big croissant, but that's neither here nor there. It is a Yule log shape, and I'm counting this as a win for me. I did it. Thank you for joining me for another experimental baking hour. If you decide to try this out, let me know how it goes for you. If you have made or decide to make the actual Yule log cake and accomplish it. I would love to know what your secrets are. Tell me all of your secrets. That's pretty much the video. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.